Good morning. If you want to see how we built these 4 camp stools, stay tuned, because that's what we're going to do today. Well, good morning, and welcome to another Memphis Monday 354, our 42nd week. Today we're going to build some camping side tables, look like this, with slanting legs and a thick top. So I think this is a prototype here, which I'm actually going to use as, I was only going to make 3 tables, but I made this prototype. It turned out fine, so we're just going to make 4 of them. We got some new techniques here that I just dreamed up, and I think it's going to be pretty worthwhile. But we're not going to get any of that worthwhile stuff done unless we do what? That's right, let's knock off the chit chat and get to work. Here's a concept. Say you're sitting around the camp and you're drinking a Fresca or lemonade, and you want someplace to put your drink or your chow or whatever you're doing. You got this nice high table. You want it kind of high so you don't have to reach down, or reach up. You want it about the same height as your cup holders here. And since it's high, you need these angled legs to, to make it stable. And let's take a look at the plans. Here's a little measured drawing I did for this piece. Now you've already seen me working up some of the stock. These are just deck wood that I glued together. Found some dry deck wood and just glued it together. They vary in width, anywhere from 10 to 11 inches across the width. They're all 16 inches long, and the stock is an inch and a half, or an inch and 3/8 thick, and then it angles down to 3/4 at the edge. And the legs, the whole table is 25.5 inches tall, and the legs are held on by these table leg brackets. You've used those before. And importantly, we're going to go over this in some detail. Each corner has an angle cut 8 degrees down to the corner so that the legs splay out. And they don't just splay out in one direction, they splay out at 45 degrees. Let's take a look at the prototype. Here's a closer look at those angle cuts right here. I've drawn a pencil line right along the crest of the angle cut. And then the brackets are just attached there. Now, if you can find some place to buy the brackets, you can probably get them for 15 cents a piece. I paid way too much for these because I got a kit. The kit has the brace, the wood anchors. We'll go over all that. And then the machine threaded screws so that the legs are removable. Now you can get these brackets. You can get these brackets that'll accept. These are called hanger bolts, and then you screw those into the leg, and then the hanger bolt screws into the bracket. But these are not machine threaded. These brackets have machine threads. I don't know what the thread count is, but it's much more than the hanger bolts. Now, if there's anything tricky about this procedure, it is getting this angle cut on this corner. And I had to build a jig to do it. Let's go over that. Here's a little schematic of the jig, looking at, from the side of the table straight on. It's a piece of 3/4 inch plywood that slides along the fence to stabilize it. And then the stock for the table is held in there at the center of the board at 45 degrees and then held on with clamps. And then this is a schematic of a side view of it, or from front of the table saw or the end. This is the fence right here. That's the plywood back. There's the clamp. And then there's the blade angled at 8 degrees. I got 7 here, but this is supposed to be 8. Here you can see the 90 degree arc for the, or triangle for the board. Now the board, the stock will go right down in there, right on that line. And then the whole thing will be, held to the board with clamps. And these clamps will also serve as handles when I'm pushing it through the saw. My blade, I have up as high as it'll go, and it's tilted over at 8 degrees. And then the piece will go through there like that and cut that angle. Let's give it a try. Now it looks pretty dodgy, but I don't think it is. I think it's fairly safe setup, because I'm on the other side of the board and I'm not anywhere near the saw blade or anything. Now here you can see that my cut doesn't go all the way through. I'm going to have to finish that up with a handsaw and a grinder. We'll do that later. Then it's just rinse and repeat. I've got, you just take the board, flip it around and do another corner. I got 12 more corners to do. So I'll go ahead and do all the rest of the corners, and we'll come back when we have to finish the cuts with the handsaw. Now, at this angle, the saw blade doesn't cut all the way through, like I showed you. But what we're going to do is finish the cut using this pull saw. We're just going to basically take this piece off, and then we'll smooth it out using the grinder. Cutting diagonally across that grain is too hard. What I'm going to do is put a straight edge across where my table saw cut was, and cut that angle with the skill saw. And that makes a real nice finished edge there. And I can put my dealio right like that, right up against that ledge. What do you think? Well, here on the prototype you can see it has a nice little rounded over edge, so we'll do that on the router. Also want to show you, when I was drilling the holes for this brace, I put a hole right through it, and I filled it with some epoxy and sawdust. I kind of like this this look here on the bottom. Now I got 12 legs to cut out, and they're 2 feet long. And I got my stop block right here. I would gang saw them, but I'm checking them for straightness and this and that. So I'm just going to do them one at a time. This is how these fittings work. You figure out where you're going to position them, and then take your pencil and go down through there and mark where that hole comes out. Because you got to have room for this little stud to be threaded into that hole. Most of it will be in the leg, but you still need, a safety factor. Okay, then. That goes like that, and then this stud threads into it. What we're going to do is put a 1-inch hole about a 1/4 of an inch deep in the bottom of this leg. Now I got to put a hole inside this other hole. Now I got to thread our little darnet down in here. Pretty good size Allen wrench right there. It goes right into that hole. I was about ready to put these legs on, but I'm not satisfied with our design here. My problem is a functionality problem. When you take these things off, they're spinning. Look how long it takes to take them off. And there's going to be 16 legs. You'd have to do this for every single leg. And the reason is the main part of this, if I can ever get it off, you see how painful it is? These legs should go on and come off in 5 seconds. The stud, this little bolt right here, is staying in the bracket. And we need it to stay in the leg portion. I'm also going to eliminate this this gouge out here. It's not working. It's not doing anything. So my plan is I'm going to make the holes for these just the right length, and then put epoxy in the hole and run this screw down towards just the right distance out of the wood. That means I can then screw this thing out and the stud will remain in the leg. Now I set those studs in the legs, and I screwed each one into the holder, but before I did, I put epoxy down in the hole, so that should Loctite those in. Now these little shorter studs right there, they screw into these fittings. Tell you what I'll do, we're about done. I'll go ahead and put these legs on, put a little finish on these, and we'll call it a day. Well, there are the 4 camp scoot stools for Memphis Monday 354. We put angled legs on it. We didn't use angled braces. Those angled fittings. We just actually tapered the corners. They're made 100% out of deck wood. It's been dried for a couple of years. Over the next few days, I'll put spar varnish on them. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied. Well, that does it for Memphis Monday 354. Boy, that was an adventure. Seemed like everything we did, we changed our mind and kept changing the design. And but we've never built a table or a stool this way, and you got to learn how to do it. It takes practice. All right, so like, favorite, share, all the stuff you know on the internet. But most important, make sure you're back here next week for another exciting Memphis Monday. Thanks for playing along.